Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers and to our review of the Brooks Ghost Max 3. This is a max stacked cushion daily with a big wedge of DNA Loft V3 foam and some serious easy mile potential. All 4 run testers have logged test miles in the shoe and we are here to give you our verdict. So let's get into it. So quick details first then, and the Brooks Ghost Max 3 stack height comes in at 39mm on the hill, you've got 33mm on the forefoot for a 6mm drop. On the scales, it weighs in at 11 ounces or 313 grams in my UK men's 8.5 test shoe. When it comes to the dollars, the Brooks Ghost Max 3 lands at $160 in the US. That is a little $10 bump over the Ghost Max 2, and it's going to set you back £145 in the UK. Moving on to a quick shoe whip round then, starting with the midsole where you've got that big stack of DNA Loft V3 foam. That is the same foam that you would find in the Ghost 17. It's the same foam that we used to get in the Glycerin before that swapped in Brooks' more premium DNA tuned foam. The stack stays the same as the Ghost Max 2. You've got a big wide base in this shoe, but there's now a lengthier forefoot rocker. It's all quite soft and compressive in the forefoot. There's a bit more firmness as you go further back into the heel. Unsurprisingly, that is there to create a bit of stability in the shoe. Up top, you've got premium jacquard mesh uppers that are fairly thick, but on the flexible side with plenty of stretch that boosts the kind of volume feel of the forefoot. It makes it feel like a slipper-like feel. You've got plush padded heel collars with a big roll top design, and you've also got big comfort boosting non-gusseted tongues. When you flip the shoes over, there is a big covering of outsole rubber that's actually really notably quite thick, and that looks like it will be good for durability.
I'm an 8 in the UK. The Ghost Max 3 I've got is also a size 8 and it's very comfortable. There's pretty much the perfect thumbs width before my big toe, plenty of space around the forefoot. The midfoot, pretty average width midfoot in the normal version. I could feel that my feet were sort of touching the sides. There wasn't loads of extra space, but I found it to be very comfortable. If you've got wider feet, you might just want to take that in consideration. Loads of padding on it, as you'd expect, and really nice squishy tongue on it as well, so you can get a nice comfortable lockdown fit in this. So I definitely stay to my UK size 8 in it.
So when it comes to the fit of the Brooks Ghost Max 3, I've got my normal running shoe size here, which is a UK 9, US 10. That's the size I use across the Brooks range, pretty much all of the shoes in the range, and it's always fine, and it's fine with the Ghost Max 3. I think it's a true to size shoe. I would stick to your normal running shoe size. I've got a good amount of room around the toes, certainly a secure hold around the heel and midfoot as well. I think if I had any criticisms, it would just be that it's a lot. The upper, there's loads of padding. There's a very stiff and noticeable internal heel counter. A lot of padding on the tongue. It creates quite a warm, slightly oppressive feel. And I don't personally love to have too much padding or too much support around the heel in a shoe. Sometimes that irritates my Achilles. It's been okay with the Ghost Max 3, but there's just a lot going on there. And I prefer a more stripped back upper design myself. But it certainly creates a lot of step-in comfort. And I do think the fit is good if you stick to your normal size.
Fit then, and in testing I ran in a UK 8.5, US 9.5, that's my regular size in Brooks shoes. I would describe the Ghost Max 3 fit as having like a slipper-like upper feel. It's got a happily sort of flexible toe box, plenty of room to wiggle the toes, lots of room to breathe and move around. I'm not a huge fan of the big roll top heel collars. I always feel like they make the shoe feel like there's almost sort of too much going on. It's a bit overbuilt, but I can see some kind of seeking that for that sort of real maxed out plushness. Might work for you. I had no trouble with the midfoot lockdown, no slipping in the heels, and overall I would recommend sticking true to size.
So fit has been solid overall in my testing. That is after Brooks sent me this shoe in my usual size, which is a UK size 8. In the first run video we did, I had it in UK size 9. I definitely didn't need a whole size bigger than my usual size. I do think this is a true size fitting shoe. I've got it in the medium width fit option as well, which is absolutely fine in terms of space and general room. I've got quite skinny feet, so I don't need huge amounts of room, and it's a naturally quite spacious shoe in general. Unless you want that extra room, go for those kind of wider fit options that are available in the Ghost Max 3 line. I think things to talk about here, the toe box. I did think maybe it might be a little bit short, but actually getting out on it, there's ample room here. There's, you know, front of your toes and also the sides as well. Getting into that midfoot and the hold in general has been absolutely fine. Gives you a good sense of the volume, I think, of this upper. It's very well padded, like a lot of the Brooks Ghost uppers are. You've got these kind of spongy laces and very well padded tongue, which offers lots of comfort, but I think also you do maybe need to pull those laces in quite tightly to make sure it sits very kind of snug on the top and you get that kind of good lockdown. You get into the heel collar, again, kind of continuing that theme of giving you a lot of padding here. You've got quite a stiff heel counter here, which has been fine in my testing, no irritation or issues there. But if you do have issues with stiff heel counters, that's something to keep in mind. So I think the biggest takeaway is that, yeah, I think it is a true size fitting shoe, having tried them in 2 different sizes. And I think if you've got skinny feet like me, the medium width fit option will be fine. If you need that extra room, there's options to kind of look for to get that, but generally is a naturally kind of quite spacious shoe in general.
So I have never been a big fan of the original Ghost range. We've just finished testing the Ghost 17 and I'm not a massive fan of that either. I just find the original Ghosts or the normal Ghosts are a little bit they don't give me a lot. I like a bit of softer midsole. I like the midsole to do something. I like either a bit of softness, a bit of bounce, a bit of energy return. Whereas the Ghosts, I find that they're very stable, very accessible, very comfortable if you're just ploughing through the miles. Maybe if you're a beginner or a general runner and want something that's just very supportive on the foot. But for me, they don't really do a lot. When the Ghost Max came out, I was pretty impressed with it. I think that the foam in it works better when there's more of it. And I thought it was an improvement on the original Ghost, especially for someone like me who likes bigger stack and a softer foam in it. It wasn't necessarily softer, but because you had more of it in, it did feel a little bit softer. But the Ghost Max 1, the Ghost Max 2, very comfortable shoes, still very stable, still good. Balanced midsole, good for heavier people, good for if you want something that's just very supportive. I think a lot of people wear them for walking around as well because they just got a very sturdy feel to them, and they're just tick a lot of boxes, those shoes. For me, they're the Ghost Max 1 and 2. I didn't use them a lot. I had shoes that I much prefer to use that were big stack shoes like the Mall V5, things like the Brooks Glycerin Max. Those shoes, they just excel in that area of having more foam in them, and for me they just feel a bit more comfortable and they've got nice rolling action, and they just work very well for me when I'm doing easy runs or doing long runs and I'm ploughing through the miles. The Ghost Max range has always been a little bit more on the side where it's just solid, sturdy, supportive, but still quite nice and comfortable to run in. It doesn't have a particularly pronounced rocker. There's not an amazingly smooth heel to toe transition in them, but they tick a lot of boxes for a lot of people. The Ghost Max 3 is more of the same, really. The upper there's been an updated upper on this. I didn't massively notice a big difference. I didn't mind the uppers on the original versions, but this seems very, very comfortable. The midsole feels to me very similar to the previous versions. I went out and done the sort of runs I've been doing in the shoe are easy runs, around 5-minute kilometers. Definitely not a shoe that I'd pick up the pace in at all. Definitely not versatile by any stretch of the imagination. I would say that the heel toe transition is nice at an easy pace. Doesn't do a lot. It doesn't feel like it's really smoothly guiding you forward. It just feels like it's putting your foot in the right position. It's tipping you off nicely, and it's solid, and you're going to get the job done. But that's it, really. It's not an inspiring shoe. It's not an exciting shoe. It's a shoe that is there for you. It is doing everything you need, and it's accessible to a lot of people. I think as well, if you're a heavy runner, you're probably going to be okay with this shoe, whereas some of the softer shoes that I like, especially the Max Stacks ones, aren't great if you're a heavy runner because you can really squish and compress that midsole foam, whereas there's a bit more to it. So I think there's that sturdiness and stability is a bit more accessible to a lot more people. But other than that, I think it's solid. I think it's a shoe that definitely, if you want a little bit of stability but you still want a big stack height in it, this is a good option. And not all big stack shoes are good options if you want full-on stability and support. So it's good for all of that, and it's very comfortable all round. Also, the outsole is really, really good. There's a really thick layer of outsole on this. You get rubber all the way across it. Tiny little bit of exposed midsole here, but very little. And it's quite good grip as well. I've been running quite a lot on public footpaths on this. Absolutely great, really sturdy, solid outsole on it. So I think it's going to be a pretty durable shoe as well. So definitely the sort of shoe that you're going to pick up if you want churn out the miles in comfort, but you want to know that you're going to get a good load of miles out of it as well, and it's going to keep your feet in the right position. So yeah, solid run for the Ghost Max 3, but I don't think it's massively different than the previous version.
So I've run just shy of 50k in the Brooks Ghost Max 3, using it for a mix of daily training runs, mostly pretty easy stuff, recovery runs, and then an easy to steady progression run as well, where I move through the gears to something fairly speedy towards the end of that run. And it's been okay. I think it's a lot of shoe for me. I think it's just a bit too much shoe for me is how I frame it, really. There's a lot going on with the upper. It's a big, wide midsole, lots of ground contact, and not a light shoe. It's not crazy heavy, but it's not a light shoe for sure, and it's just one that I was a bit too cognizant of on the run. I really felt like I was noticing it a lot of the time. It's just not a shoe that I really got into a really nice rhythm with, which I did sometimes actually with the Ghost Max 2. I feel like this shoe's a little bit more cumbersome somehow. Like, I don't know if there's been that much actually really even changed to it, but on the run I didn't really click with it kind of at any pace. Like at easy paces it still felt like I was dragging it along a little bit, and although you can move the gears a little bit, it's not the most versatile cushion shoe out there, I would say. It felt pretty heavy at the end of a run when I was going through the gears, and the transition was reasonably smooth. There's a reasonable rocker there, but yeah, it's not my favourite. I think it's a shoe that's going to end up in that category basically of, yeah, it does the job, it's going to be really durable, got a good outsole here, the upper's a bit too padded for my liking, but is comfortable, the midsole foam's pretty solid, but it's not going to be one that really stands out for me, even within the Brooks range, where they have a lot of these type of cushion shoes in there, probably a few too many, I would say. And yeah, the Ghost Max 3 doesn't really do enough here to either really stand out from its predecessor or compared to other cushion shoes. So the foam you've got here I think is fine, it's pretty good. It's not really the softest or liveliest or the est of anything really. It's a very balanced foam, it's a very neutral foam. Like, it's cushioned and comfortable without being very squishy or springy or anything like that. It's not very energetic, it doesn't give you a load of pop off the toes or anything like that. It just supports the shoe well. It's a very neutral foam and a very consistent foam in it, which is to its credit. Like, it retains its shape and its form throughout long runs, and over time I'm sure it proved to be very durable as well. It's just not the most exciting foam, and it's not the most exciting shoe in general. And shoes don't always have to be exciting. You could pick the Ghost Max 3 up, it's going to run you a lot of miles, it's going to be comfortable, it's going to be supportive, it's going to have a little bit too much padding on the upper, but it is going to do its job. But I just think in a market where there are more interesting options, I'd say, as cushion trainers available, it is one that I did struggle to click with during the run test. You have got this slightly lower drop here compared to the classic Ghost, and you do get that slightly smoother, more rocketed ride like with the other Max shoes in the range, and that is noticeable. It is a little bit less kind of snappy and slappy than something like the Ghost 17, but it isn't the smoothest rocker out there, and it's not a drastic change. I do think Brooks has too many cushion shoes in its line. Like, it makes sense in theory to have the Glycerin and the Glycerin Max and the Ghost Max, but that's a lot of shoes, and there is a lot of overlap between them, and they all do pretty much the same job with slightly different feels, and I don't think you necessarily need that much choice. Now, maybe you do, and I'm completely wrong, but I feel this kind of shoe, which does that durable workhorse job, maybe it's a little bit confusing to have 4 of them in the range now. I do think there could be a little bit of paring back, especially when they are using very similar foams for the most part and have quite similar feels. So yeah, all around the Ghost Max 3 just was a fine run test. It struggles to stand out even within the Brooks range, I think, and I'm not sure it's a really big upgrade on its predecessor.
So testing, I've done around 40 Ks in the Brooks Ghost Max 3, mostly slow and easy. 90% of that has been on the road, a bit on some compacted park paths and along the river here in London along the Thames. What you're getting here for me is lots of plush cushion, lots of softness underfoot, a really, really cradled footbed. It sort of offers up this kind of broad, stable platform where there's very little of the road coming back up through because it's all protected and taken out by this big old wedge of DNA Loft foam you've got here. When you land at those slower paces with heavier foot form, it's all very soft. And while it's not entirely sort of devoid of energy, there is a little bit of spring. There's not a great deal of life underfoot, so they're good at dampening the road impact, and everything just feels sort of nice and plush and comfortable. Just basically sort of screams cocoon comfort, but I'm not really getting much more from the Ghost Max 3. So I would kind of say this is like a capable shoe for easy miles if you like things big and soft. But there is a lot of shoe here, and I think you can get cushion or that kind of protection from shoes that are a little bit more stripped back, where there's a little bit less going on. I harp on a lot about the Nike Vomero 18 as a shoe that's max stack but feels a bit more nimble. So you get the cushion, but it doesn't feel overbuilt. I also noticed a little bit of movement in that midsole. The footbed and the midsole cushion sort of sink, and they do move around a bit underfoot. So it's all very flexible. I found a bit sort of malleable. Even in the heels, there's sort of quite a lot of compression if you're landing further back. So you can sort of feel the whole sole move with your foot as you roll through your step, which is great for sort of delivering like a cradled sensation. But that sort of soft and slipper-like underfoot feel, it's not quite to my taste. But if you like that kind of ride, this has all the hallmarks, I think, of an easy long mile eater. I'm not really sure I would choose it first up against some of the shoes in Brooks' own lineup. I think the Glycerin 22 or the Ghost 17, they're lower profile shoes, not as much of a wedge of foam, but they're much more my kind of shoe, and I can run with the cushion that they deliver even for the slower miles. I think for that big stack ride as well, if you're looking for something, I think the Glycerin Max actually also offers more.
So in terms of my running time in the Ghost Max 3, I've done 50k in this shoe, and that's been across 2 different sizes of the shoe. Now, I haven't tested the Ghost Max 2. I did run in the original Ghost Max. And there's definitely some qualities I like about the Ghost Max line. Now, is it the most exciting, thrilling max cushion shoe to go out and run in? Absolutely not. But I think if you value different things in a max cushion shoe, I think particularly something that's going to be very stable, very smooth in terms of that ride. I think it's going to be very comfortable overall from upper to midsole, but also I think very protective. And I think that's something I've really noticed, really absorbing that impact in a very effective way. Then those are what, those are the kind of things you're going to get from the Ghost Max line. I think particularly that is replicated in, or kind of continued in, the Ghost Max 3. I think the big change from the original to the 2 was that move to the DNA Loft V3 foam, which I think it just is a lot nicer than what we got in that original shoe. I think what that does is just injects a little bit of life, or a bit more life into that ride. There's a little bit of bounce. It's not massively kind of lively, but I think in terms of matching it with a shoe that has a kind of nicely rockered kind of design, and is very smooth in terms of those transitions from heel to toe, works very well to kind of tick over very nicely in this shoe. It's definitely a comfortable shoe for kind of those easy runs. That's where I think it's worked best for me. I think when I've tried to up the pace in this shoe, it just is too much shoe. I just don't really think that's what it's about. There's definitely better Brooks shoes to give you that kind of versatility. But I think if you're looking for something that's really going to, as I said, protect over those longer runs, isn't going to, work against you when you start to tire, it's going to be very consistent. And those are the qualities that I would associate with the Ghost Max 3. In terms of other things, outsole wise, as I said, I have used or tested across 2 different shoes. So from a durability point of view, it's quite difficult for me to say how it's going to hold up. But I think, honestly, like the other Ghost Max shoes, you're going to get a shoe here that's going to cover, or be able to cover, a lot of your running time, if not all of your running time. There's a lot of rubber in that forefoot area, which you can see is quite wide. And then you've got some at that heel kind of area as well too, and it is kind of pretty thick here as well. Kind of adds to that kind of more stable feel that you'll get in the Ghost Max line as well, kind of what we see in the Ghost Max shoes in general. So yeah, definitely I think this is going to be a shoe you're going to be able to spend a lot of running time in, and it's going to be able to withstand that extended running time as well. So overall, very much still a Ghost Max shoe. I think not hugely changed from the line in general, still kind of delivers on the kind of same fronts, I would say, overall. And yeah, it's been a solid shoe without being the most exciting, thrilling max cushion shoe to get out running in.
So my verdict on the Brooks Ghost Max 3, I think it's more of the same. I didn't notice any major differences from the previous versions of the shoe. I think it's got a similar feel to the ride. None of the versions of the Ghost Max, I would say, are particularly well designed for anything above workhorse comfort. Easy runs, probably long runs at a nice comfortable pace. You're never going to pick up the pace in these. They're just a little bit clunky for that. The heel toe transition is fine, but all in all, I think it's just a solid workhorse shoe which has a bit of comfort in it, but it's probably more accessible to more people because of that balanced midsole. So yeah, thumbs up from me. But not a shoe that I would pick up very much in comparison to the softer, bouncier shoes that I like when I go out for an easy run or a long run.
So my verdict, I didn't really love the Ghost Max 3 during my testing. It was just a little bit too much shoe for me, and I'm sure there'll be people out there who will appreciate it more. But even if you are looking for a big cushy shoe with this kind of drop and this kind of design, I think you can find better options out there, not least just going for the Ghost Max 2, because I think I slightly preferred the ride of the Ghost Max 2, but even if there is a little bit of an upgrade here, it isn't that noticeable, and there hasn't been a big change in materials or anything, I don't think. So you could look at getting the older shoe in the sales where it will be cheaper, and yeah, you're going to get that kind of ride within the Brooks range in general. Like I said, there are, as I said in the run test, there are a few shoes that are around this kind of area. I think the Glycerin Max does stand out a little bit. It is a fair bit more expensive, but you've got a livelier ride here. If you are looking for that lower drop, more rockered Brooks shoe, the Glycerin Max I think is a notably better ride. It's a bit more fun, a bit more comfortable, a bit more dynamic, and yeah, that is maybe worth looking at the upgrade. I know it is a fair bit more expensive. You know, you've got the Ghost and the Glycerin there if you want the more traditional Brooks design with the higher drop and that kind of thing. And they're all, for me, a little bit much for muchness in terms of delivering a solid level of performance in a durable shoe, but not one that I'd be rushing to add to my own rotation. And I do think if you go outside of Brooks, you can get solid, reliable shoes like this that do have a bit more spark to them or are slightly just more enjoyable to run in at easy paces or any paces. The Hoka Arahi 8 we've all been really big fans of actually here on the channel as a stability shoe that has a very smooth, comfortable, supportive ride in a much more lightweight design that's just a bit more pared back and provides a lot of support without feeling quite as big on the foot as the Ghost Max 3 does for me. It's also the Asics Nose Blast 5, just a really good daily trainer, which is a fair bit lighter than the Ghost Max 3. Nice rocker to it. Good foam, pretty similar level foam here to the Brooks, but in a shoe that I think has a bit more about it in terms of being a bit more fun for easy paces and a bit more versatile for faster ones. And then if you don't mind, going for a slightly higher drop, then I would look outside the Brooks range at the Puma range at the moment, because I think the Magnify Nitro 3 is a fantastic cushion shoe that has a much more exciting foam in the midsole. It's like a Puma foam in there that gives you a lot more bounce, a lot more comfort, a lot more fun, or even the Velocity Nitro 4, which is a fair bit cheaper and it is less cushioned than the Magnify and indeed the Ghost Max 3. But if you're looking for maybe a slightly less cushioned daily trainer to pick up those runs, it's a really good option. It's really lightweight, very fun shoe. So yeah, I just think there's lots of really good options out there, and I think the Ghost Max 3 doesn't really stand out to me. Didn't love the runs I did in it. It was fine, but within or without the Brooks range, I think you might find shoes that I think are a little bit better.
Verdict then, and I think I've run this year in 2 or 3 shoes from Brooks this year that I think could cater for the same types of runs, slow, easy recovery, but do it with a bit more life or have a more agile profile than the Ghost Max 3. And I don't think I would reach for the Ghost Max 3 before those shoes. I'm talking about the Glycerin Max with the DNA tuned foam, which delivers more on the Max cushion promise, but also I think has a bit more life to it. I find it more fun to run in. I also think some of the lower profile shoes that I mentioned, the Glycerin 22, the Ghost 17, do a good job of taming the road without really needing more foam underfoot. I personally like a bit of a sort of lower profile, more direct shoe anyway. So having said that, I can see perhaps if you're bringing more kilos to the party, you might want the big, broad, soft base the Ghost Max 3 serves up for taking away the road. But I still think there are also shoes outside of the Brooks stable that I find more appealing for doing that. The Nike Vomero 18, where you get a max stack kind of cushion, but without feeling overbuilt too much shoe. I think the New Balance 880 also offers more stack for less weight. So my challenge here to Brooks on the Ghost Max would be to offer max cushion without the max weight. I think it could do with being trimmed down a bit. I think that's where some other shoes are what they're delivering, so it just falls short a little bit for me.
So my take on the Brooks Ghost Max 3 is that this is a max cushion shoe that absolutely is very comfortable to run in. It's a max cushion shoe that I think has enough in that ride department to make you want to spend time in it, and also it is absolutely a shoe that you can spend a lot of time in as well from a durability point of view. Is it the best max cushion shoe that I have run in recently? Not really. I think there's definitely other options that I personally would pick over the Ghost Max 3, whether that's in Brooks's own range or outside of it as well. I mean, I think there's loads of shoes out there that I would personally take over the Ghost Max 3. I'm thinking things like the Nike Vomero 18, the Saucony Hurricane 25. You've got things like Hoka Skyward X, which I would use for the same types of runs. Mixture in terms of those prices for those shoes, but I think they just offer a nicer experience overall. So yeah, I think the Ghost Max 3 is a solid shoe. Is it the shoe that I would pick over other similar shoes in Brooks's own range or outside of it? Possibly not.
So there you have it. That's been our review of the Brooks Ghost Max 3. If you're interested in other dailies from the Brooks lineup, I'm going to pop 2 videos up on the channel now that you should go and watch. Otherwise, thank you very much for stopping by, and until next time, happy running, people.